What's the hardest part of being an identical twin? People always think it's about being confused for each other or sharing a birthday, but the real answer is way darker than that. My brother Kyle and I are 26, and we've been identical since birth. Same height, same voice, same face, down to a tiny scar above our left eyebrow from when we both fell off the same bike at age 8. The problem started 3 months ago when my girlfriend Emma asked why I'd been so cold to her at the grocery store on Saturday. I told her I hadn't seen her Saturday, I'd been at work all day. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo she'd tried to take of us together. In the picture, I was walking away from her in the produce section, clearly ignoring her. Except that wasn't me. The clothes were wrong. I don't own a red jacket, but the face was mine. Emma said I was gaslighting her, that she'd called my name 3 times and I'd looked right at her before walking away. We fought about it for an hour before I convinced her it must have been Kyle. 2 weeks later, my credit card got declined at a restaurant. When I checked my account, there were charges I didn't recognize. $400 at a jewelry store downtown, $200 at a fancy steakhouse, a hotel room for 3 nights. I called my bank and they pulled up security footage from the jewelry store. It showed me buying an engagement ring. Same face, same build, same everything. But I was at work that day. My manager verified my timesheet. I filed a fraud report and got a new card, but the bank agent looked at me like I was running a scam. Kyle and I didn't talk much anymore. He'd moved across town after college, worked as a personal trainer, kept to himself. When I called him about the charges, he seemed confused. Said he hadn't used my card, hadn't been to that jewelry store. His voice sounded normal, like he was telling the truth. But then Emma started getting weird texts from my number when I was sitting right next to her. Messages asking to meet up, saying we needed to talk about our future. My phone was in my pocket the whole time. I showed her the texts weren't in my sent folder, but she was getting scared. My boss called me into his office last Monday, said there'd been complaints about my behavior at the satellite office across town. Apparently, I'd been showing up there unannounced, acting aggressive with employees, demanding access to files I shouldn't have. The problem was I'd never been to that office. Not once. They had badge swipes showing my security card being used there 5 times in the past month. Cameras showed my face walking through the building. My boss put me on administrative leave pending investigation. I drove to Kyle's apartment that night. He wouldn't answer the door, so I waited in the parking lot. At midnight, I saw him leave carrying a duffel bag. I followed him to a storage unit facility on the east side of town. He spent 20 minutes inside Unit 247, then left. After he drove away, I went to the unit. The door was slightly open, like he'd forgotten to lock it properly. Inside were dozens of items that made my stomach drop. Emma's house keys on a duplicate ring, copies of my credit cards, my work badge, photos of my apartment taken from inside like someone had been living there when I wasn't home. A notebook filled with my daily schedule going back months, tracking everywhere I went and everyone I talked to. But the worst part was the folder. Inside were documents I'd never seen before. A marriage license application with Emma's name, a lease for an apartment I'd never rented, bank statements showing transfers from my accounts to ones I didn't know existed. And on the very bottom, there were photos of Emma. Hundreds of them, taken from a distance through windows in parking lots. Some showed her at work, at home, at the gym. Then I found the engagement ring receipt, same one from my credit card statement. Kyle had been building an entire life pretending to be me, but the date on the marriage license application was for next week. I heard footsteps behind me and turned around. Kyle was standing in the doorway of the storage unit, and he was holding something I couldn't quite see in the dim light. "Brother, I think we need to have a serious talk about boundaries," he said. His voice was calm, but his expression was something I'd never seen before. And that's when I realized I'd made a terrible mistake coming here alone. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below.